Welcome to Ask a Black Man, where we get real answers from real men. This is the marriage episode where married and divorced men give their take on men's desire for wedded bliss and why so many fail to achieve it. Let's meet the men.
See, a lot of people think marriage is like feeling lovey-dovey and happy all the time.
A lot of people get into it not knowing what it's for.
I'm great as a human being, but going into this marriage, I suck.
You're head of the household, you're the last word.
I'm big on like duty, sort of relegating duties.
Marriage, I think, is the best thing in the world.
So how do we feel about the divorce rate? I don't feel it's high enough then.
Good God.
It's not high enough. If people are in these terrible, raggedy relationships,
They need to get out.
because a lot of people get into it not knowing what it's for. If you get into a
They
car,
have a
this is what I'm
misunderstanding,
saying.
yeah.
A relationship is a technology, and if you get into a car thinking it's for a radio and that's all you ever use your car for, you're using the car wrong. You see what I'm saying? You're not using the technology correctly. So you've put all this investment into this thing and you're not getting a return. You should just get a radio. You see what I'm saying?
If we're talking about why the divorce rate is the way it is, then you have to go to the individuals who are getting married nowadays. You have to look at the kind of people that society is producing. We're not producing the same kind of people that came from that stock. I know I'm nothing like my grandfather, my great-grandfather. I couldn't walk a day in those shoes. Like the stuff they used to have to do back in those days, I'm not built like that. The women I see, like my grandmother, my mother, my great-grandmother, the women aren't built like that right now. Like they're not, if you meet a woman who tells you that she wants to cook for you, wants to hold down the house, or wants to come out and y'all be equal partners, breadwinner. If you can find that woman, then yeah, it might pop off tomorrow. Like we might be down in Vegas in an hour if I find that. But right now, a woman feel like most women I meet, feel like they're in competition. It's more of I'm gonna get it first. I don't need you. Whereas I'd rather be like, hey, listen.
Yeah,
It's the
perception.
It's
the perception of marriage.
I kind of disagree with that. I agree and I disagree. I disagree with it if we don't include what we need to do to get to a place, because obviously there's something going on in our community. And a lot of it comes from the relationships that we had with the women in our particular group collectively. So if that is the case, we need to start understanding that, well, wait a minute, us as compared to other groups of people, and then you look at all the other things, if you're looking at it holistically. Then if you're looking at it as an individual and that's how you see it, I don't have a problem with it, but at the same rate, that can give us problems, and even more problems than we're having right now as a group of people.
Yeah, I think the perception of marriage is actually just incorrect. There's so many people who see marriage as like something to do. Like, I have a Facebook now, or I have a Twitter, now I have a marriage, now I have a ring. You look at all these people like put a ring on. I'm married now, I'm good. And that's like their final destination, but in reality it's the beginning of the destination. So you get into the marriage and you're like, okay, this is day one, what are we gonna do? Make it work for day one. Day two, now what we're gonna do. So it's marriage itself is something you just shouldn't even touch, shouldn't even fool with, unless you know that you're gonna die for this person, and you feel that they feel the same for you. Most black men are not marriage-minded.
No. Most black men
It's hard to say yes or no, though, right? I mean, it depends
most
on
black
when
men
you catch them.
that I know.
If you're saying manhood at 18 versus 30, like, 18, I was like, nah, I'm just trying to get my numbers out of the single digits. It's like, you know what I'm saying? I went to school in Atlanta.
It's like Twitter followers. You just wanted to pick it up.
Try to get my
That
numbers
11th
up,
like.
feel special and stuff. But, closer to 30, it's like, all right, I've done all that stuff that was on my bucket list, and now it's like,
now it's time to settle down.
If you've even managed to travel, well, maybe I want to buy a house before I get married.
Right.
Maybe I want to, experience some things before I settle down before I get a wife, as opposed to some dudes I know who I want someone to experience this with.
Right.
I want to travel with someone specifically. Like I want to be able to build something with someone else, as opposed to me doing it myself and then finding somebody to bring on board, or finding somebody equal in my.
It's a blanket statement. It's a blanket question to say, are black men really minded towards marriage? Do they want to do it? I think if we're watching television or listening to music, we might say no. But every individual has their own perspective. Some people do want that person in their life to share all of their things with. I know me personally, I enjoy things, and I enjoy sharing those things with one person. I know that if I'm trying to share with a lot of people, some are gonna take advantage of it, some are not gonna appreciate it. I'm gonna be devalued, I'm not gonna have time for each person. So I know I'm marriage-minded. That's just me, but I can't speak for
it depends where you at in your life. I agree with Jason. It depends where you're at as you're starting out. You go through different things. There's an evolution of us as a person. And depending which stage you are, you'll be open to certain things. Of course, when you're 19, 20, 25 years old, you want to travel, you want to experience different women or whatever the case may be. But as you evolve as a person, then the marriage concept might come into play.
Like at the end of the day, if you're head of the household, you're the last word. So wherever you go forward, this is on you. You can't look back and say, well, you told me. Nobody wants to hear that when you're like the leader out in front. You can be the boss or you can be the leader. It's two different types.
That's two different.
You can be the boss or you can be the leader. You can be the boss and sit back and tell everybody else what to do, or you can be the leader, be out front and show them which way to go.
Exactly.
So we're going to go this way.
So then like to flip that some, because I mean the way it's kind of thrown out there is the assumption that like the guy is the head of household. But I mean, are there any objections to the woman doing that?
No, it's not.
And I only ask that from the perspective of I'm big on like duty, sort of relegating duties. So if, the woman's better at finances, let her, be largely in front of that.
It's a give and take. It's switch. You switch.
So just to consider that.
She'll take the lead where areas she's strong at and you fall back.
And especially these days, like women are doing so much more than us. Like, at this point, we're trying to catch up with them, especially if you're like with a black woman.
You gotta be confident. You got as a man, first things first, you shouldn't even get married if you don't know yourself well enough to do that kind of stuff. That's number one. Number two, if you're insecure around your own wife, to the point where if she knows a little bit more than you, or she can do some things you can't do, and that makes you feel some kind of way, you haven't finished maturing as a man. You don't know yourself as you shouldn't be married at all. It's not going to forget marriage. It's not going to work out for you in any aspect of your life, because women are everywhere. There's no getting away from them and all the good they're doing in society. So if you are insecure behind what a woman does and you're comparing that back to you, that's a problem, especially if it's your wife, because y'all on the same team.
I look at head of household like, if you're taking a car trip with somebody, one person has to drive. That doesn't even necessarily mean they decided where you're going.
Right.
I feel like there's a head and a heart, and both are necessary, or else you dead and dumb. You know what I'm saying? So I say one person needs to have the heart who really decides what's going to happen, and the head figures out how to make it happen. So like, let me drive, don't grab the wheel, get the radio right, hook me up with a drink and a sandwich, you know what I'm saying? Which is important, right? Like, neither one are more important than the other, I feel like, but somebody has to drive, and if both people are trying to grab the wheel, that's a crash waiting to happen.
Leader, referee sometimes, actor. There's a plethora of things, about 10 things. When you talk about all those things and a few other ones.
So let me ask to sort of expand on that. Or then how do you feel that your role differed as a man, for you guys that have been married or whatnot? What was the biggest difference in jumping from the boyfriend to the husband?
The husband falls, when you're the husband and you say you're head of household, the good things that happen in your marriage, you take responsibility for that. And the bad things, you take responsibility for that. And that's where I see a husband. So you can't blame when things go horribly wrong on other people. You're the husband. So things that start or enter the house, it's on you. Things that exit the house, it's on you. And that's when we say we're in charge. Being in charge is not telling people what to do. It's actually taking the responsibility for the good and the bad in the relationship. That's what a husband is.
The game changer in life is as soon as you care for someone more than you care for yourself.
There you go.
And then the transition, seamlessly, but it's not work, it's something you want to do. So as a husband, like I say, you're taking responsibility. I'm taking responsibility for the financial. I'll take the responsibility for the emotional support. You're just accepting the responsibility for what's going on in your house, in your relationship.
I've never been married, despite what some people might think. But just speaking like from my personal experience and the relationships around me and kind of what I saw a lot of dysfunctional marriages, I would say, where either there was divorce or the people who stayed in marriage that, got married when they were much younger, 50s, 60s, whatever, and stuck with it because that's what they were expected to do, not necessarily because they were happy. But even being able to see all that, just kind of taking from different ones, I can say that it can work.
I think a lot of the marriages that I know that work are the second. I don't know if I know any first-time marriages that work, except in my elders' generation. Like on our level, in our age bracket, everybody I know that's like, that's working, like that's beautiful, is on a second marriage.
Marriage, I think, is the best thing in the world, because if you are fortunate to have that situation, I mean, to have somebody that you're compatible with, to have that companionship, and they dare to say soulmate. I mean, to be in love with your best friend, that's amazing.
I've been
You know, if you can make
engaged
it happen.
twice. Yeah, didn't work out either time apparently. But it's because it's you know, when you do this thing, you're not doing it by yourself. It's not just you. You know what I mean? You got to remember that the other person has these whole other set. It's like putting two houses together. Well, I don't know if I got room for everything that you bringing out of your closet. We're gonna have to get rid of some. Some of this stuff ain't gonna be no good. Look, wait a minute now. You only know how to cook pork. I stopped eating meat. What we gonna do? Like, it turns into, you got to deal with what someone else is bringing to the table. It doesn't make somebody the bad guy. It doesn't make the other person the good guy. I definitely believe in marriage. I see the good ones when they work. I see the bad ones when they don't. What I've come to realize is there's no formula.
So a woman could just be broke and it's whatever.
Right.
Like, it's not even a thing. Women go out being broke on purpose sometimes. Like, they go to the club, I ain't got no money. It's like a badge of honor. It doesn't, for dudes, it's not like that.
Is it a badge
You
of
know what I mean?
honor?
Like, no, it is though. Like, they go, I'm proud of it.
Thank you for watching Ask a Black Man. Very exciting show. Hey, you need to subscribe to youtube.com, MadameNoire. Check us out. Hilarious information. We got the inside scoop on marriage, relationships, everything you need. Check us out.